So, there's a few things that I need to preface this interview with. The interview is pre-recorded. 1. This interview was recorded on Monday, and I have gone through, and I have also prematurely sent this interview to 5 people. One of them being FlowBee, one of them being one of the mods, and the others being people involved in the situation. No one else has seen it outside of those people. I wanted to allow FlowBee to see it just in case, and just so that he knew that I didn't twist his words. Number 2, this is an impartial interview about MCSR related issues. This does not touch on anything to do with other allegations outside of MCSR. I didn't want to touch on this as I don't think that I am the person that should be investigating this stuff. If there's anything that he has done that is outside of MCSR, that's not for me to say, nor is that for me to investigate. That's completely up to you guys to make your own judgment. And thirdly, I did mention that this is impartial. Of course, I have my own opinions, but I wanted this interview to be impartial, as all good interviews should be, because I wanted to allow him to give his side of the story. I'm allowed to hold my own opinions, but I'm going to try not to do that on this MCSR podcast. Personally, I'm not going to mention my opinions on FlowBee, but I think anyone that knows me and anyone that wants to know can just ask. I think you guys should be able to make it quite clear from things like my Twitter and my regular stance on cheaters how I stand on this situation.
I think I actually had a really good line.
Hey, post-commentary Fulham here. Just to let you know, FlowBee and I discussed before the interview that this would all be around MCSR related issues, nothing to do with his IRL stuff. Secondly, I've made some small cuts during this video just for when FlowBee had a few interruptions and or there were certain things that I didn't want to share completely publicly with the vast majority of the MCSR community. Thanks and enjoy. It is 3 PM on the 23rd of August 2021. I'm joined with FlowBee. As many people know, there's been a lot of recent drama around this situation. I thought that we would get some information directly from FlowBee, as we haven't really been able to hear his full side of the story. I've got a few questions lined up. We're going to have a little interview segment here. And yeah, I guess the first question that I have to ask you, FlowBee, is how are you doing? I hope you're doing okay. I know that there's a lot of stress around the whole situation. I'm sure you probably don't need to go into everything, but how are you doing?
Hanging about. It's I've had a lot of shit going my way, not just online, IRL as well. I have friends to fall back on right now. Some which are less inclined to help me at this point due to my passive lying. But I haven't been left to deal with it all alone, so it has been a lot easier to deal with. There's some stuff that I am not so happy with, but I have learned to just ignore a lot of stuff on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of messages, a lot of them very kind, people giving me kind words. A lot of them not so kind, with some death threats, suicide encouragements, things like that. But I've learned to ignore them. So.
Right, yeah. Of course, I would never want to encourage that. I know I saw some public replies on your tweet recently, and most of them were almost just take a step back, take a few days off, and hopefully you can come back and feel okay. And I'm just hoping that, I think at the end of the day, no matter what you've done in a video game, your health and mental health and everything like that is far more important. You're still a human. Yeah, I just wanted to firstly ask you that, because I want to be able to condemn the people that are, sending any hateful messages and shit like that. That's not at all what people should be doing, no matter what happened in the game. But I guess we'll take it back to the start. Like right back to the start even. I guess my first question, apart from how you're doing, is who actually got you into speedrunning? What was your main motivation to join the community in the first place?
I'd always had an interest in speedrunning. I've given certain games a try in the past. It never really caught on to me because I never really got into a community. My entrance into Minecraft speedrunning was through Pizza Hut, Brandon.
Okay.
I've been watching him for about 7, 8 years already, so he was mainly the reason I was so interested in Minecraft. And I saw him pull up a Minecraft speedrun, and I was like, hey, I've considered this in the past. I have someone who is enjoying it, who I like watching, and that's how I initially got into it. I met some friends through Pete's community who were also interested in speedrunning, some of which are now still among the top. For instance, Sprobble is a fairly well-known runner. Pro is another one, for instance. So I did meet people beforehand that kind of got me into it. So I got into it through Pete.
That's quite
Started
interesting.
watching some other people as well. As Pete started to slowly drift out of speedrunning,
Mhm.
I still have my interest there, and I started moving over to other people like Feinberg, um, Pod, Semper, stuff like that. So,
Yeah, Pete is quite an interesting place to join the community. I feel like most people would say that they got into it through Illumina or through Dream or through, I would almost say one of the more prevalent runners, because I think people relate Pete to other Minecraft content, more SMP stuff, more. I know he used to be part of the pack back when I used to really enjoy his content. But yeah, no, he of course has been speedrunning for nearly a year now, but less so recently. That's quite interesting though. I feel like not many people would have guessed that. I certainly wouldn't have done. I guess now I'm gonna be getting into some more of the direct questions. And we spoke about this a little bit before the interview, just to make sure that we got a few things covered. So as comfortable as you want to go into details, you can go into as much detail or as little detail as you'd like to give. I'd like to ask what the main reasons were for you faking runs.
so a big reason for me was a financial incentive. I knew that a lot of my financial income, be it a loan or whatever from my father, would drop on August 1st. And with having a ticking time bomb on my back, I knew I needed a form of income. I used to live in a city. No, I don't anymore since I moved yesterday. But I used to live in a city where almost any form of job was like restaurant, cafe, bar, stuff like that. And I am socially incapable of speaking with people, so I knew that was never an option for me. As for work, and I did know I needed to have income. Um, I knew at the time I wasn't well known enough to make running, speedrunning, whatever, be it streaming, YouTube, whatever, a career. And at the time, I was still considered a nobody, as I was pulling like 2, 3, maybe 4 viewers in a stream. So I felt it was worth taking a risk, claiming a speedrun as fake just to get my name out more. Well, I'm not claiming it as fake, but claiming a fake speedrun as real to get my name out more. Um, and originally, that's all I wanted it to be. I just wanted to get one run. I knew I could eventually beat it anyways if I kept playing. Um, and I just wanted to keep it at that, just to get my name out more, to be able to get a footing, to be able to start growing more.
Yeah. Can I ask which
Yeah,
run that was that you initially
the
planned on being the only fake run?
the 1259.
Okay. Yeah.
I planned to keep it at that and not do any more cheating, since at the time I did feel disgusted at myself. Many people will doubt it when I say this, but competitive integrity has, in general, always been something I did care for. Me cheating was really just like a last resort, like last ditch effort for me at that point. I didn't want to get to it, but at the same time, I felt I wasn't taking as big of a risk. I figured I'd get caught, which at the time I didn't, and it did surprise me. I didn't gain nearly enough traction as I did, as I wanted to. So for that reason, I also started to fake more cosmetic runs, being the other sub 15s, the 1433, 1412, and 1358. All coming as a way for me to promote my name more, since they were never going to be on leaderboards. I figured it was all right. I did gain some traction from that. My name got more out. I started becoming more known as a runner, and I wanted to push it from there. But it didn't nearly push me to the speed that I felt I had to be at, to truly make this a thing, as I was slowly starting to approach that August 1st deadline. Inevitably, I decided I'd cheat one more run, being the 1132 that I did. And that really got my name going. So from that point on, I decided I'm not gonna cheat anything anymore. But as we all know, I did cheat one more run. I didn't think anything of it at the time because I knew it wasn't a completion, and I felt I'd be able to get away with it.
Right. I'm sorry to hear about the financial reasons behind it. I'm sure that's a really difficult scenario for you to be in, and I can understand why you would look to, do anything you can to get yourself out of that. That makes sense. My next question was going to be what your main aim was to get out of cheating, but I think you answered that one pretty clearly. So I guess if you're happy to move on from that question,
yeah,
then on a slightly lighter note, are you planning to continue speedrunning? Are you currently actually enjoying playing Minecraft?
This is also something people seem to misunderstand. They seem to think that because I've cheated, I've not got a care for the game anymore. But except for this week, where I don't have my computer with me since I'm in the middle of moving, I still play Minecraft 12, 14, 16 hours a day. A lot of that being speedrunning. Even though my top run is faked, it doesn't mean I don't enjoy this game. It is an absolute passion of me, and I do wish to continue it, be it not within this community anymore. I've already accepted that, but I'm not planning to drop this game.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that shows. Being a speedrunner myself, it's something that's quite almost addictive. Once you get started on it, you really don't want it to end particularly quickly, even in the way that it has in your case. So the question was, if you had always planned to cheat since you joined the community, maybe if this date was looming in your mind, was that always something that was in the back of your mind, thinking that was always an option?
No, when I originally joined the community, a lot of the financial ticking time bomb, to call it that, wasn't looming over my head yet. It was still more than a year away at that point. And as to my knowledge at the time, I wasn't gonna screw up school yet. And a big reason for a lot of my financials dropping was because I didn't have a school anymore because I screwed school too much, so I couldn't get like a student loan or whatever. So I never had the pressure of fuck, I need this to like become a thing. As I mentioned before, on like, as much as you may not believe it, not financial, competitive integrity has meant a lot to me in the past. I've ruined that now, and I don't expect anyone to believe it anymore if I do say it. But I never had the intention to cheat or anything of sorts. I'd always look down on cheaters. And for instance, when the whole Dream situation came out, I couldn't even stand hearing his name, just based on like the idea of disgusted by the fact that he's a cheater, whether he knew it or not.
Yeah, certainly. I would agree with you on that point. And it's good to know that it wasn't always the intention to cheat. I guess. I guess moving on from that, when you were talking about competitive integrity being a big thing for you, a question had always been of mine. Have you ever cheated in tournaments?
No, never. Me wanting to grow my name with a run was the only thing I ever planned. I knew I was capable of performing well in tournaments. And I never planned, never have, and never will cheat in any form of tournament.
Okay, that's good to know. I understand you were part of the I Win tournaments and things like that previously, so it's good to know that that is still real. Let's say.
My performance in those tournaments reflected my actual gameplay. Yes.
Yeah, and I would probably agree with that. I know you're not a bad Minecraft speedrunner, but I can see that with the time looming over your head, it would make sense that you're stuck in a bit of a sticky situation there. I guess more of a cosmetic question. Why exactly did you continue to stream real runs after faking previous PBs? Is that just due to your enjoyment of the game?
Partially due to my enjoyment, partially because I did really wish to beat it. So that at the time on the leaderboard wasn't a cheated run. I I just wanted that run to get my name out. I knew that a time I claimed at the time, the 12:59, I knew I could beat it. I knew it'd take a lot of work, but I knew I could beat it. I still streamed runs because I did want to beat it also. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. On the notion of streaming runs, my next question would be, how exactly did you fake the 1358? Because as far as I know, the 1358 you were live streaming. Was that a pre-recorded run that you showed on stream, or did you maybe turn the stream down to 30 FPS and used a 240 FPS macro? There's a lot of ideas that have been floating around, but I was wondering if you'd be comfortable enough to answer how that was done.
I cheated it in the exact same way I did every single other one. I had one macro going which would just resets worlds, and I had another macro going that the exact same thing, except just before it hits create worlds, it swaps to 0 delay and puts a seed that I have copied and swaps back to full delay. It's fast enough to the point where no person will ever notice it by naked eye. You will only see it if you go frame by frame. The reason it wasn't found in my VOD was because at the time nobody considered looking at the VOD, and once people did start looking at it, the VOD was no longer existent.
Right. Okay. So you did. So let's say someone was watching that stream at 10% speed or something crazy. If
They would have noticed.
they would have been able to notice. That's
Yes.
okay. Right. That's quite confident for you to be able to do that live on stream. Were you worried during that run?
I was incredibly scared. Of course, every single time I put out a fake run, I was scared of the idea of being caught. It always loomed over my head like, hey, today could be my last day in this community. I could just be out by tomorrow, especially doing that run. But I also felt that only ever getting runs offline would be way too suspicious.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of claims going around like that in the community, as we know. The most well-known one, for instance, being Dream to Combanas. Comments like those, like people were also making them towards me, and I had no footing to back it because I did stream a lot, besides the runs I was getting. So I felt like at least one of the runs had to be on stream, and I knew, like I was confident enough to the point where I figured nobody would notice unless someone specifically went back in the VOD and looked at it. And even then, with Twitch's replay, like playback being really bad, it would still be really difficult to catch.
Yeah. totally understand that. One question about that run and all of your other runs, as a matter of fact. Did you have a pre-planned time that you were aiming for on each run? Was each seed relevant to a certain time? Had you planned that 13:58 to be slower than your current PB but still a good time, or was there I need to be in the fortress here, in the bastion here, yada yada yada?
When I looked at a world prior to deciding, hey, this is a world I want to run, the only condition I had is kind of sub 15.
Right.
That was the only thing that I had in mind. If it did PB, then I would have probably not submitted it. If people did see it, like for instance the streamed run or one of the other ones I was streaming offline in my Discord. If those runs did PB, then I would have simply had to edit out the world creation again.
Yeah. As you did with the 12:59.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. You said that you streamed runs to Discord, and I know you were in call with Crystal quite a lot, being one of your friends.
Yes.
Have you cheated runs in front of Crystal before?
The only run I ever cheated with crystals being there is the 820 portal run.
Yeah.
But as I had mentioned, I did actually roll that in RNG and then just claim something else. I never had any intentions, plans, or actual actions cheating in front of Crystal.
Right. Okay. One of my questions for later on was whether that story was true or whether that was something that you had put into the first document that you wished to rescind at this point. But so
No,
she did.
that's true.
She did ask if you were going to upload it, and then you faked the run after that.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I guess. Wow, that's quite interesting. A question more to do with that run then. Did you play that run exactly the same on the first, on your first rolling of the seed?
Other than the fact that I was a bit faster, obviously. The second time playing it, the first time I played it's exactly the same. Be it I did look around in the nether, as people did point out, I didn't look around in the rerun because I already knew where the fortress was. In the actual run, I did run around. So other than getting to the bastion about 20 seconds later, the run was played basically exactly the same. In that run, I did also only get 10 pearls, so that was something that I did actually keep to.
Right.
But at that real run, I didn't throw a pearl because I was already low health. I didn't get food. As a lot of people have pointed out. And rather than pearling, I decided to fight some hoglins, and one of them just jumped and killed me.
Right. That's quite unfortunate because, of course, that would have been a real run that you would have been, I'm sure, really proud of. So, just to go into details, you did when in the real version of that run, you had planned on high rolling the ruined portal chest, and you made like an iron shovel.
Yes.
Wow.
Later on, as people were pointing out, there were a lot of things I should have done instead. At the point, I wasn't even expecting that ruined portal to have anything. I was expecting, it's gonna have like 6 gold nuggets, maybe a gold ingot, stuff like that. Like I was prepared to just reset on the spot or bottle with a wood light. As plenty of people have pointed out, my reset efficiency is horrendous, so I often just make a play that is questionable to other people because there's a way I should be able to salvage it that I am not doing.
Right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
That was a bad gameplay choice. Yeah.
Yeah. People make mistakes in runs. That's not abnormal. I think that makes sense. I guess from an outsider's point of view, it could look for a reason why you knew what was in that chest. However, on the first run through, you're saying you didn't know, and that was still your how you played the seed.
Yeah.
Okay. That that's good. And I guess the second main part of that run that people do like to talk about is the when you entered the fortress. That was the same route that you made in the real run, or did you not make it to the fortress?
In the real run, I stopped to kill a hoglin in front of the fortress. So I did find the fortress because I just ran the correct way. But I didn't get into the fortress yet. I stopped to kill a hoglin and I died there.
So you didn't know that there was that blaze spawner there until looking back afterwards.
Until I started checking afterwards.
Okay.
And it's actually quite funny because people were talking about how I was deliberately going to one spawner because the other one led to another stronghold. I wasn't even aware of that.
Right.
The only thing I knew was there's a spawner here and it leads to Ocean Exposed with calculus.
Yeah. That makes sense. I guess that question is, yeah, that answers another one of my questions. So on a different topic now, how did you find the seeds you injected? Were they all RSG runs that you had previously lost, or maybe got a slightly slower time on that you wanted to rerun?
Spoke to the mods. Can't ask this question, supposedly. Not allowed to ask it. So I have to cut this bit out. This is me talking like live. I'm not. This isn't pre-recorded. I left this in, but I uploaded this YouTube video and sent it to the mod team, and they didn't let me play it. So, yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed because I did actually want to be able to say why and how, and I understand that I'm not going to try and say everything. I would have quite liked to say a little bit, maybe just, how he found a seed or whatever, but I can't, so I'm just going to have to cut it out. So enjoy the muted VOD real quick. Oh yeah, here you go. I think I can just cut back in now. Give me 1 second, I can check. Nope, still gotta wait a little bit.
Stat tracker was something that a few people had pointed out prior to your 820 portal run blind, or at least in communities that I'm part of. They were able to see that there was a lot of discrepancies with your stat tracker. However, we noted that down to just simple. The stat tracker is not perfect, and there was lots of times where you may have checked seeds and things like this where you entered the portal, you entered the stronghold at like 35 seconds or something like that, where you were, I assume, checking a world and going to reset. However, is there a potential that you've maybe overlooked that?
I've never had the stat track open while checking for worlds.
Okay.
What I did have, and that was one thing that I didn't even know of until people started pointing it out, is I did once run some FSG whilst having the stat tracker open. And that heavily skewed some of my results. And since I am notoriously known for checking, a lot of my worlds were because of that. For instance, a lot of times what I would do with FSG Divine just being figured out, I'd load into a world, instantly enter, see a fossil, and just check to see if the blind would have been any good. And that would often lead to like a 30 seconds stronghold enter on check.
Yeah, and that's what I think most people put that down to. It did seem like you were just checking worlds, and no one had thought about that the checking worlds due to from this FSG filter. But of course, if you're saying that those are mostly FSG seeds that you decided to check, or runs that may have gone wrong that you've also decided to check, but they are all RSG, which is as you say, very good. So if you would have not been caught on this portal room run, what do you think would have been your next step?
Beat by 1132 by a legit run.
You would have carried on grinding to try and beat the 1132?
I would have.
Okay. That's good to hear. And I guess you know that you have the capabilities given the fact that you are claiming that you rolled that 820 portal room entry as an RSG seed. You know, you rolled that sort of seed, and you could just do that again and hopefully get a better time.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. Would you have? I'll ask you this directly then. Were you ever at any point planning to fake the RSG world record?
No. This is something that people have questioned me before as well. One time in specific, I wanted to fake a run. This being about a day before I got the 1433 that I claimed. I tried to fake a run offline and ended up getting a 916. And I knew that it was bullshit. I couldn't play that off. It would cause too much attention, so I decided to just delete that.
Wow. Okay. So you're saying that you had faked a run that you, as you said, had scouted, saying you can get a sub 15 on this world. You ran it, and you would have got the world record.
If I played it off as legit, I would have been claiming world records, yes.
Wow. Okay. But of course, you didn't upload that or submit that. So that's, I guess, proof of the fact that you weren't aiming for the world record. You were just maybe faking runs for the reasons that you were saying earlier.
As I said, it was for clout, and although it would obviously bring a lot of clout claiming world records, the competitive side inside of me kept telling me, "Don't fucking do that. You know that's stupid. Don't do that." And that's also the reason I didn't do it. This is also the reason I would never have claimed the first sub 11 for the same exact reason.
Okay. So my next question would be: were there any reasons for you not coming completely clean in the first document?
I was scared. I wanted to just play it off, ignore it, hope that people would forget, and just leave it in the past. Then Ninja Brain came out with the whole hot evidence thing, and that was like the same day that I got some other shitty news IRL. And it was a couple hours, like 2-3 hours before I got that IRL news, and I was like, fuck man, like I can't just ignore this. People aren't gonna ignore it. And then when I did get that IRL news, I decided like, fuck, I can't handle this. I just need to come clean. I need to get it off. I just need to get past this part of my life.
Yeah, I can see that that's pretty difficult. I'm obviously not going to ask you any questions about your IRL stuff. That's your life. I'm not going to encroach on that. Of course, this is going to be on MCSR News, not let's talk about FlowBees. Yeah, exactly. So I understand that you do have alternate accounts on both Twitch and I assume on Minecraft. I assume that maybe with runs submitted on the boards, maybe at slower times, these will be trusted eventually. Do you plan on using those to circumvent your leaderboard red list?
No.
So you don't plan on submitting any more runs on any separate accounts, and you don't plan on coming back to streaming on a separate Twitch account?
So for the past week, I have been streaming on an alt, just streaming runs. Nobody knows it other than a couple close friends of mine. But I have no intent to upload any runs on a new account on speedrun.com. At this point, it wouldn't even work anyways, because I have already told the mods as well what my alts are.
Okay.
Specifically, I have told Crystal.
Right. Yeah.
I never in it planned to circumvent any red list or anything of the sorts. The only thing I had considered was circumventing Discord bans within alternate Discords. just because I want to know what is going on in Discord servers. I wouldn't do it to like interact with people. I just want to see what stuff was being said. I've always had a curiosity in that way.
That seems respectable and fair. I feel like you almost have the right to still know about things that are going on in Discord servers, whether it be about you or about the community in general. And I think it's very amicable that you have decided to not upload runs to speedrun.com on any alternate accounts. It's good that you've told Crystal, of course. Okay, kind of big yes or no questions now, effectively. You can go into as much detail or as little detail as you'd like. You claim to have had the FSG world record while re-rolling Horsey's world record at the time seed, getting a 513. Yes. Was that seed injected?
No. I genuinely rolled it.
That's crazy.
So many people don't believe it, and I don't blame people for not believing it, but I genuinely did roll that.
Okay. That's fair. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna call you a liar or anything. You know, this is just a simple interview, and I'll take your word for that. Were you at any point during your FSG runs, have you ever cheated in an FSG run?
No. I have never seen the use of it. The same as to why my SSG runs aren't cheated. Unless it's world record, it's giving 0 cloud. And people can say, oh, cloud chase all they want. The only reason I would cheat a run was to grow my name so that I could make this a reality. I would never cheat a run for the sake of cheating a run.
Okay, right. I see your point there. And I guess that implies your answer to my next question, but I'm going to ask you it explicitly just to confirm. Would you have ever attempted to, either during the tournament or not, would you have ever attempted to get the sub 5 bounty using nefarious means?
No. This comes back to my competitive integrity point. I would never want to claim a big thing, being it a world record or the first sub 5, because that is real money. And of course, a real leaderboard is also something people really care about, me included. But when you start talking world records or real money being thrown in, I have no intention of ever defrauding anyone for it.
Okay, that's good to know. I guess that was a big question that I had, considering the you said that the intention of the cheating was to grow your account to try and stress a little bit less about the financial things that are going on in your real life at the moment. I guess
I can further, since I see where the conflict of interest might be seen. Yeah. I wanted to grow, but I didn't want to steal.
Okay.
That's a good way of seeing it, I guess.
Yeah, and it makes sense. You're not you haven't claimed this sub 5 bounty, and that's good. That's respectable. And I'm sure people do appreciate that. And people will certainly appreciate that you're coming clean now. I know it took you a little while. It took you that first document of...
Sorry, my parents are really timing this poorly.
That's all right. Yeah, I was just saying that it was respectable that you aren't going to cheat that. You didn't cheat the FSG, and people do appreciate the fact that you're coming clean and that you have spoken about this sort of stuff now. That's very respectable, and I'm glad that you've done so. So, the next question would be, during your video that was unlisted and still is, as far as I know you spent an hour doing calculated travel. Um, I am assured that these are probably all real seeds. I didn't notice any.
Not a single one was injected. Everything was real.
That's good. I guess one thing was, I know you made a few chat comments during that, during those runs.
I did, yes.
Were any of those still things that you feel are valid, or were they just to try and prevent you from being caught?
A lot of them had emotions to them. One in specific that I aimed towards 11D. I'm not sure. I haven't actually seen many people talk about it, but I do want to bring it up. At one point, I did say "fuck you, 11D." Any comment during that was genuine. I didn't ever think, oh fuck, this was so bad, I have to make something up. Like anytime I did fuck up, I just opened up about it and I tried to explain in chat why I did it wrong. For instance, at one point I got about 600 off, and that was because I completely misread an angle. And I just put that in chat, for instance, like, oh, I thought that was that. My bad. I never tried to hide anything by typing to it. It's as I put in my description for that video as well. I never have claimed to hit every educated. I never have claimed that I am a god at that. Well, I have insinuated it. But that was more as an ego boost. Like I genuinely do believe that I am good at calculated / educated. And I just wanted to make that video to prove, like, look, on average, I get close. I do hit, and if I do get a one-off run like my 1158 where it does hit, or like the one-off run that I had on the same day as I faked the 1132, there are ones that I do hit, and I more so had the intent of making that video to show to people that I do in fact know what I'm doing.
Yeah. And just to clarify, the 1158 that you still have uploaded on your channel is, as you claim, to be completely RSG and not faked at all.
Completely RSG. I've also talked about this with Crystal specifically. I would have had to find an exploit to the reset mod within 15 minutes of getting it, streaming my screen to a moderator, and having absolutely no knowledge about mods.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have had to find an exploit and abuse it in front of a moderator while streaming my screen. That's a lot of people don't know that, but I couldn't have, even if I knew how to. That run is truly legitimate. The mods do have the logs. I have requested to Crystal if she would be willing to confirm the reality of the run. But based on the fact that I don't have world files, it would take a lot more effort than it usually would to confirm a run for being real. And since I have no plans to submit it to the leaderboard, since it would likely get denied for not meeting a higher evidence standard with my history of cheating, I don't plan to actually submit that run to the leaderboards, even though I have been told that it could get verified as real. I just want people to know that that run is in fact real.
Yeah, and honestly, I do think a lot of people do believe that. It's the least suspicious run out of all of the previous runs that were mentioned during 11T's video. Of course, it has the audio clip of you saying that you think you
hit the blind.
Yeah, and to be fair, I can almost see your reasoning behind it. The angle of the eye,
it points towards the out of the stronghold.
Yeah.
My higher coordinate is only going up higher. My other coordinate is already pretty high.
Yeah.
Sure, I could have been 50 blocks off. I could have been 700 blocks off. But I had a feeling, because of logical reasoning, that I did in fact hit the blind end. I quite did.
Yeah, I mean that first portal looked like it was a few hundred blocks away, and you made the second portal, and it was a lot closer. I don't I personally, I know I'm not really meant to give opinions. It's meant to be an impartial interview, but I think it would be kind of weird for you to really to really still double down on that one seed, even though the rest of the seeds have been confirmed as fake, and you've come forward as such. So yeah, it is of course my opinion that I think that's real, and I think a lot of people do actually agree with that. I think a lot of people do respect that 1158 is real, and I guess it just proves that you're not a bad runner. You're good at RSG in general. So
I am capable. I just need to work on shit that fucks me, like my reset efficiency.
yeah, and I think that that's what I guess in hindsight should have happened. If you could go back now and not have cheated, would you change that?
I would undo it all. I would have just because when I did claim the 1259, for about 2 weeks I didn't run RSG. So that is like part of it. I just focus on other things. If I didn't claim that 1259, I would have still kept running, likely would have gotten a time close to it, and I would have pushed my brand as real. I wouldn't have cheated anything. I would undo it all if I could in an instant.
Okay, so you would go back and not do any of the cheating if you could. I guess once you got into the hole, it was more difficult to clear your name afterwards. So, yeah. As I'm sure that you know, there'll probably be quite a lot of people watching this interview back. So my last question, my final question, is there anything you would like to say to the people that are watching, the community in general?
I've done it already in the true middle, but I do want to apologize again to anybody that I ever lied against, or that I portrayed myself differently as. I genuinely do feel horrible about it. I genuinely do have absolute regrets. I don't expect anyone to forgive me for the stuff that I have. Um, I really am sorry for what I have done. Um, there's also a misconception that I do want to clear up. As a lot of people like to make jokes about it, Crystal and me included, about me being quote unquote down bad. Please stop misportraying or misrepresenting my words. As I put it in the document at first, I wanted to not be embarrassed. I never had the intention to impress. I just wanted to not be embarrassed.
Okay, that clears that up. Thank you for coming on for this interview. I know lots of people will have wanted this. I know a lot of people would have wanted to ask you a lot of questions, and I've tried to do my best to ask everything that I can. So yeah, genuinely thank you for taking time out of your day to come on here. I know you haven't had to do this. You could have simply left after the whole incident, but I'm glad that you've come here to clear a few things up, and I appreciate that.
Of course, thank you for having me.
All good.
I think I actually had a really good blind.